What up, guys? So this past weekend was the CJI 2 event. It was a really good event. There were some great matches and there were some great submissions. And we're going to look at 4 different submissions that happened at the event. And I'm going to break down some details from them. I may not do it exactly like they did it, but there's some things that they did that I noticed that sometimes I do and that I think could be really useful to you. Some of it's very subtle changes to the way we hold our hands that a lot of times gets overlooked. But again, I know the people that follow me. Most of you are white, blue, purples. I know we got some brown and black belts watching the channel too. Love you guys. But we have a lot of people that are in their first number of years. And what I think is cool is you're watching the best people in jiu-jitsu in the world do really basic fundamental stuff, right? And all this stuff that they're going over is stuff that you can do as a white belt. It is not that complicated. And so we're going to take a look at the matches. I'll take a look at some ideas to break down and hopefully it gives you guys a couple ideas to try in your next training session. Let's jump into the techniques. All right, guys, so this is one of my favorite arm bars, this rolling arm bar from the back. I actually hit this in an MMA fight years ago, not nearly as well as Giancarlo did, but here's the move. I really like it. So let's say if you're in this position here, you've got a hook in and maybe the guy turned, whatever. We're going to take our arm closest to the head and we're going to hook the arm and then we're going to place our shin across the side of the person's face. Do not throw your leg in front. I've seen some of newer people try to do this. You'll get a hold of the arm and they'll try to throw their leg in front. But if I do that, he can even smash that bottom leg down now, right there. And it's going to be tough for me to get out of this. So part of this is that this knee pinch together will allow me to rotate out to the side easier, okay? So when you're here, again, you can set this up a number of different ways, or it can happen just as a byproduct of not being able to get the second hook in. But we've got our hook here. His hands are close. I'm going to go and hook the arm, slide my knee across, boom, posting. Now from here, I'm going to turn. Now more than likely, a couple things will happen. If the guy doesn't defend here, then obviously I can finish this arm bar, no problem. But most of the time, the people defend. And this is the part, if you watch that match with Giancarlo, this is an important part of this if you're going to make this arm bar work, right? He starts by grabbing the near leg and he pulls it, which ends up having the other leg come close enough where he then grabs that. Now, what does this do? By pulling this leg up, it makes it easier to initiate the roll to get it to happen. And then from there, he's trying to finish it. Now you'll watch, there's that sequence with Ronaldo where he's here and he's trying to get it through. And Ronaldo ends up coming up at some point with this grip here, right? So you notice that he's initially holding here and then he switches to the wrist here. And this is like an important detail, right? Because again, you'll see this again. And I know that most of my viewers in this channel, you're, probably newer, white, blue belt, maybe purple belt. You'll see people trying to pull arms out by the crook of the arm. You want to go at the wrist. Attacking the wrist is really intelligent, right? And so from here, he begins to hook and he comes up here and he eventually gets into this position. And as Ronaldo comes up to his knees to stack up and he's trying to pull away, come up to your knees for me, Marvin. Here, he starts trying to pull away. The wrist is in control and he's able to get the extension there, right? So again, it's a beautiful armbar from the back. But again, one of the big details is when you're finishing your armbar, attack at the wrist. So let's look at it one more time. So we're here. It's a fun move to turtle up. It's a fun move to try. Throw the hook in, maybe the guy turned, whatever. You're posted across, going in to hook the arm. And again, you're going shin across the face, posting, hit to the side. If the person does not roll with you, you could potentially extend the arm here. So I mean, if I get this out, let me get the arm, I could finish here. But in most cases, a good person is going to defend that arm as best they can. So we start to grab the near side to the far side leg, and we get a hold of it, you can pull that leg up and it gives you control. And also it takes away their ability to bridge, right? So if he tries to bridge, you can't because I got both of his legs and we can get here. And again, in that match, he was immediately trying to climb to the wrist. And that's what you want to do, right? If you're going for an arm bar, hold this for a second. Like if they're just holding, get whatever grip you want to right there. So for here, you would want to make that switch from here to here and get a hold of the wrist in some manner to attack. And if you think about it, we would go towards the head because in most cases, this will put that person in a far weaker position with their shoulder. There are ways that we can finish down here as well. But he was going up here trying to work with the wrist. Ronaldo got the bicep grip here to defend. And then as he came up, he switched to the wrist here, extended, and got the finish. And so the fundamental idea there is that when you're going for finishes from the armbar, work to the wrist. I see a lot of newer grapplers biting into the arm and trying to pull, work up to the wrist and begin to attack there, and you can start taking them in different directions. But again, that's where we're going to get the most leverage for our arm bars, and we'll talk about this again in another part of the video. So guys, I'm not going to get into the exact same position because I don't have the length that Luke Griffith does, and he was playing a body triangle. If you notice here, I don't have the longest legs in the world, and Marvin is not a small man. But that's not the main thing that I want to talk about. What he did, which I think is interesting, and this is something when I teach classes and I'm talking to people, or I'm talking to some of my more advanced people, it's interesting. A lot of people cannot choke with both arms from back mount, right? So most people have like one arm that they can choke with, they can't choke with both. One of the things that he did, it's so stupid simple, but it's very effective, is he was attacking with both arms. So a lot of times if you get really good at simply attacking with one arm here, then the person knows, hey, I just have to dominate the right arm. I don't have to worry about the left. You become very predictable from your back mount, right? But in that moment, in that path, the situation that he was in, he was here, he had the guy's arm trapped, and he was in a really tangled position. But essentially, he was starting with a choke here. He went over top, right? The guy defended, and then he switched back to the left, right? And now he ended up having sort of a rear naked choke with the chin tucked in, and was doing that whole thing, which actually can be a choke. It's not always a face crank. There were some face cranks earlier on in the tournament, but again, he was in there deep, turning it into a rear naked here, and again, your jaw will go bye-bye. But the big thing that I want you to take away from that is, if you're like a jiu-jitsu grappler who's been training for a little bit and you get pretty good choking on one side, don't negate the other side. There's a lot of value in being able to switch back mount sides, being able to attack with both arms. So you become, again, just a more unpredictable grappler, where again, if you've got one side, one move, one whatever, one is a terrible number in grappling because you become very predictable. But if you have the ability to attack both sides, with your techniques, you literally double the amount of techniques you have, but also too, that person simply can't defend one side. And also, if you think about this, because most people don't build up both sides of their game, they typically have a weak point. They typically have a strong side and a weak side passing, a strong side and a weak side from their guard, and they probably have a strong side and a weak side with their defense, because most people attack dominantly, especially with chokes, with their right arm. So it's a really simple fundamental idea for you, again, to attack with both arms and use them, even if you're using one as a decoy, to set up the other. So guys, another beautifully executed fundamental jiu-jitsu move was Felipe Pina with Luke Griffith, right? So he was in side control here. And again, when we're talking about it, it's very controlled or whatever, but then you see them moving and you see what it looks like. There's always like kind of the textbook, and then sometimes there's the sort of the chaotic sort of mess that sometimes happens when you're actually executing a move, and again, with someone of comparable skill. But there's a really interesting thing that he did that I don't know if people thought about, or maybe people use, because this is something I posted a video about this years ago. So when he was holding his figure four, he started off with this gift wrap from the back of side control. And it was like he initially threw almost like he was going for a triangle. Luke blocked it, and then he switched to this S mount. Now, here's the detail that I think is really important. Something super useful if you're doing an armbar and you're dismounting from like mount, side control, whatever. When he was holding his figure four, he didn't have it on the wrist. This is pretty common. This is your normal figure four, right? His hand was going down here to the wrist, right here to the hand, and he was holding his arm like this. He just kind of like that. He wasn't even doing a hardcore grip. You can do either way, right? Why is this important? I don't know if this is why he did it, but I know that I posted a video about this years ago, because this is a little trick that I found. Because like a lot of times when we get the grips here, it's easy for the person to get his hands together, right? Because he has a hand to grab. When we grab like this, if he tries to get his hands together, he can never fully lock his hands. And so it makes it easier where even when we're having to fight, we have that grip there. And if you notice, his hands were basically locked at the wrist. So if you think about from the very get-go, when he sat back on that position, going back to the armbar from Bodoni, as soon as he got control of that wrist, that was when he was able to get back. He wasn't fighting down here in the bend of the arm or like this. He had his figure four up really high against the wrist. Luke wasn't able to get a grip, and at the same time, he's able to pull back for the armbar. I thought it was a really interesting detail there that I see sometimes, but maybe some people don't know. So again, come back to it. So whether you're doing an armbar from mount or whatever, when you're getting ready to dismount, if you have trouble with people like getting their hands together early, try this out. Get a hold of the hand that you want to attack and shift your figure four from here to here, where it's up a little bit higher, and see if that makes a difference for you as far as getting control of the wrist and stopping them from getting their hands together. All right, guys. So at the CJI 2, there was another really powerful submission, well, two of them from Victor Hugo, who did a mounted arm triangle. So a lot of times when people do mount or arm triangles, they'll typically start in mount, but then they dismount to side control to finish, right? Nothing wrong with that. It's a good thing to do. And, you know, Victor Hugo is a large, strong man, and there's very few things that sound about as bad as being under his mount position, right? But notice what he did in the match. He didn't actually dismount. He used it in mount by just sagging his hip to the side. Now, again, in those cases, he had a little bit of a size and strength advantage, I imagine, and especially against like Fabricio Andre. But at the same time, it's a powerful move. And I have a few of my black belts where they prefer using the mounted triangle or mounted arm triangle rather than switching off. So when you get here and get into your arm triangle, again, basics here, we're getting underneath the neck. We've got our palm down. We've got our gable grip here, S grip, whatever you're using. And then from here, if you notice what he did, he didn't start to like dismount. All he did was you would see the knee lift up and the weight is subtly shifting to the side, okay? So like a lot of times we dismount here and do all that stuff, but this can be another powerful tool. And again, even if you don't finish it from the mount, always think about the arm triangle as a really good control point. It's really good for control from the mount. Even if you're not necessarily choking the guy immediately, they're still in a really bad spot. They're basically just their gas tank's going down, and it can be very effective for chipping away at your partner's energy or your opponent's energy. So we get here, you can think about this. As you're here, you're trying to go temple to temple, right? Because we're trying to push that shoulder into the artery there. And whether he's got his hand on his neck or is like trying to answer the phone like that right there, no big deal. Just push in. And then as you're here, we're gonna sink our hips down and squeeze. What you're trying to do is by sinking your hips, you're dropping all of your weight down into the person and pushing this in, right? If we think about how the arm triangle works when we dismount, we use our foot here to press in and squeeze. In this case, we're just sinking down and we have this elbow here as a post so we don't get rolled, and we're just sinking down and squeezing. It's very effective. You got two submissions with it. And again, it can be another option for you. If you don't want to do the dismount, you can sit there and go for the finish from the top of mount. So guys, those are just some ideas to chew on. Again, this we went through those techniques pretty quickly, so there's a lot of details missed, but I wanted to extract just maybe a couple of simple ideas to be useful to a lot of you guys that are in your early stages of jiu-jitsu in your first few years. Again, if you guys want to go back and watch all those submissions, I'll put the link down below to, like, it's a little compilation flow put together of all the different submissions used at the CJI 2 event. I always want to say CGI, but CJI almost sounds CJI. It almost sounds like CJI if you say it really quickly. But again, all those submissions, if you guys want to check them out, it was a fun event. And that's that, guys. Also, if you guys want to check out my daily email, which you can get, it's almost daily. It's like Monday through Friday. If you guys want to get it, I give a bunch of tips away and everything else. But when you join up, I'll give you guys a free ebook and a video that goes into a bunch of different strategies on how to get more from your open rolling. Just speaking from experience, my bearded experience, when you have someone that's training and they have a clear focus as to what they want to get out of the training session, what positions they're focused on, whatever their goal is, if they have that in mind before they go into their training session and they maintain it for a period of time, they get a lot more from their rolling. So if you're someone that goes into the gym and you got 2 or 3 days a week max, because you're not a 20-year-old that can just live in the gym, you have to be very focused with your training if you want to get something from it. Right? And if you guys want some tips on how to do that, I've got 12 different strategies for you. It's in an ebook and a video in case you don't want to read. You can check it out. It's down in the links below. I'm finished. Thanks, guys, for watching. Talk to you next time.